Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays, and I am your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on. I would love to say hello to you guys. You guys, last week we talked about fences and what the fences are that we will encounter in life, and about the kind of people we have in our lives, our support system, what they do for us. Do they lead us to the fence? Do they help us get over the fence? Do they help us stay sitting on the fence? Or do they help us move past the fence? So I hope you guys got something out of that and enjoyed that. But this week on Halloween Day, I was thinking about, what do we want to talk about on Halloween? When everybody dresses up, and hey, Sulie, and everybody, hey, Christia, and everybody pretends to be something that they're not. This is the perfect day, to talk about how we all wear a mask from time to time. And we do it for protection, you guys. All of us have been hurt in some kind of way, whether that is romantically, whether that's been trusting somebody that betrayed our trust. We've all gone through that. Nobody is immune to that. Hey, Alva, nobody is immune to that. But sometimes we wear our mask and we wear them too long. So that's where that topic came from. Boo, who you fooling? Because one thing about it, as they say, one thing about it, two things for sure. You can fool everybody but God. You can't fool yourself and you can't fool God. So who you fooling? We all have that psychological mask that we wear from time to time. And it's natural not to want to appear weak, or vulnerable to other people. And there's several reasons why we feel that way. Number one, sometimes it's embarrassment. It's hard to put your feelings on the line. It's hard to put your trust on the line, because that's a scary place, because that leaves you open for either people to treat you right, or for people to manipulate you, or for people to hurt you. So a lot of times when we have made bad choices in the past, we put a mask on because we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to go through that again, because we can't believe we allowed ourselves to go through that the last time. So sometimes we're just embarrassed, and so we're trying to cover that up and act like everything's good, act like we're good. Number two, pride. Nobody likes to play the fool, and we've all played the fool at least one time. If you like me, I played the fool a whole bunch of times. And you get prideful and you make up your mind, I'm not going to ever let that happen to me again. I'll never let anybody get close to me like that. I won't fall for that again. So it's that pride sometimes that makes us keep our mask on. Sometimes it's low self-esteem. Sometimes we pretend that we have confidence when we really don't. Sometimes we pretend that we feel as good about ourselves as other people around us do, but secretly, we don't really love ourselves the way we're supposed to. So some of us put on a mask because of low self-esteem. We want to fit in. We don't want people feeling sorry for us, but at the same time, we're not being honest with ourselves. And then number three, sometimes we wear a mask because we have a lot of negativity inside of us. And sometimes we will try to cover that up and laugh things off, or pretend to go along just to get along, because we've got a lot of negative emotions. A lot of it is a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of unresolved issues from our past. So sometimes we'll try to act like we got it together when down inside of us, we've got all these negative emotions that are hiding behind the mask that we wear. And then the last one, we wear a mask sometimes, you guys, to portray strength that we don't even have. Sometimes we like to act like we don't need anybody. We try to act like, that's fine. If nobody shows up for me, I don't care. That's a mask. Of course you care. We all care. But sometimes we feel like we can't let anybody know that they're affecting us the way that they are. There's this saying that says, never let them see you sweat. And I agree with that in some instances, but sometimes you got to tell people exactly what they're doing to you. You got to tell people exactly how they're affecting you, if they're affecting you in a negative way. But I understand that when they say don't ever let them see you sweat, there will be times in your life, and most of y'all know about this from the past. You may be dating somebody and maybe somebody else, an ex or whatever, being silly, doing little trifling petty stuff, and you have to front like it's not bothering you. That was that mask that we were wearing. And our personal masks are often a self-defense mechanism, you guys. They help protect us from being hurt due to social rejection. People now with social media, they're so quick to tell you their opinion about you. And when you post things and when you put yourself out there, it's almost like you're asking for them trolls, is what they call them, to tell you what they think about your life, even though they don't know you, they don't know anything about you. So a lot of times we put on a mask for self-defense, but we put ourselves out there too much sometimes too, you guys. So sometimes we hurt ourselves by trying to put too much of our personal business out on social media. And then sometimes it's for social rejection. Sometimes it's because there are people that are abusive towards us. And then there are people that are bullies towards us. So sometimes we wear our masks just so, we can make sure that nobody affects us and hurts us the way they used to. And our personality mask allows those who wear them to hide. You hide from your real self. And while a mask serves as a barrier of protection, your self-esteem and your hurt can also lead to stress. If you wear a mask all the time, you got to understand, if you're going to pretend to be something, you're going to have to pretend a long time. And that's stressful. That wears you out when you're trying to pretend to be something that you're not for a long period of time. That's a lot of stress to stay in that role, to pretend like that, to fake it until you make it like that. Sometimes it brings anxiety because you always know, no matter how you front and how you fake, somebody always knows the truth about you. Somebody knows the real about you. And you're always anxious that somebody's going to expose you for who you really are when you're wearing that mask all the time. And then depression can come from that because you can pretend to be somebody else for so long, you guys, that you lose yourself and you begin to not like yourself and not love yourself. And the last thing wearing a mask a long time will do for you, it will exhaust you. It will wear you out. Trying to do anything that's unnatural for long periods of time, you guys, it's going to wear you out because it was not meant to be that way. That's not who you are. And when you try to pretend, you have to stay on point all the time. And our personality mask that we wear sometimes, especially that one where that person is always an overachiever, always trying to let everybody see them and make sure everybody knows that they did this and they did that, that can be so exhausting. And it can cause undue stress in people who do this on a regular basis. And you guys, most of the time we are afraid to let it known and let it be known what we really want and what we really need and what we really feel, because nobody wants to be rejected. Nobody wants to be felt like they're a fool or being foolish or being needy. This thing now that people have, this saying, you being thirsty. Sometimes all you can be doing is trying to express what you need, and people will label you thirsty, or people will label you as being too much. But just because you're too much for them doesn't mean that there's not somebody out there that won't embrace that, that love and affection, and they won't meet your needs. A lot of times people that think that you're too much, they're just not that into you. That they're in it for the fun stuff, the good stuff, but when they start hollering about you too much, they're not in it for the long haul. They're not in it, for your well-being. Because most of the time, if we're constantly expressing that we need something and it's not being met, it's simply because that other person is not interested in being a part of your life and making your life any better. And we got to learn to recognize that. Some people are in relationships just for them. And you have to recognize that when you see it, and you have to love yourself enough to say, you know what, if it's not an equal partnership, then I don't want any parts of it. And we have to grow to the point of being honest, because that's the only way you can truly be the person that God created you to be. I am getting to the point in my life now. I understand what they say about, as people get older, a lot of times they get more honest. And the simple fact of the matter is, when you realize how freeing honesty is, how much honesty will bless you, even if it makes somebody else mad, it's something about being honest. You can stand on that. You can't argue with me if I'm being honest with you about something. So we've got to learn to do that and love people enough to be honest. And just understand, we have to meet people with expectations. And expectations aren't a burden. They're a privilege for people to expect something from you. A lot of times people that complain about, y'all want too much, y'all asking too much of me, a lot of times they don't realize it's a privilege that someone sees you as a person that they can believe in, as a person they can trust, as a person they can expect to do what they're asking you to do. That's actually a privilege, you guys. And a lot of people take that for granted. But trying to live up to people's expectations all the time can be exhausting. It's one thing to be dependable. It's one thing to be a man or a woman of your word. But you can try to do too much for too many people, and it will exhaust you, and it'll cause you to lose yourself in the process. So you've got to know that there is a balance to that. Like I say, being expected and being believed in is amazing, but there has to be a balance to it. And then ever wonder how connected we all could be if we stop pretending that we don't have issues. There's nothing wrong with you if you do have issues. That means you've lived. That means you've gone through some things. Hi, Brashante. I hope I said that right. Hey, T. People are always trying to duck and dodge and try to act like they have it all together. Honestly, we all have issues. We've all got some damage. Hi, Eloise. We all have some damage that we're all trying to work through. And when we learn to be honest about that, just imagine how much more we can connect with each other. If you're not acting like, as they say, yo, you know what, don't stink. When we start being honest with one another, then that's when we start making those true connections, those true friendships. And that's when, you know that no matter what you go through, somebody's either gone through it or they're going through it. And so you're never alone with whatever's happening in your life. So let's talk about true connections, what that really means. And there's 11 requirements that I wrote down in order to have true connections with people, in order to be able to take that mask off and be who you're supposed to be. Number one, like I said before, is honesty. I used to not be able to take criticism. Back when I was younger, people they just seemed like they were mean. There was no tact. There was no filter. What they felt like they had the right to say to you, what they wanted to say to you. And I will say I experienced that more with people in the church when I was a child and a teenager growing up. I just felt like so many people in church were just mean because they said things and had frowns on their face, and it seemed like they were always fussing. And now that I'm older, I realize they were just trying to keep me in line, or, they wanted me, to act like a young lady, and maybe they didn't know any better, and I have to forgive people that don't know any better, because at that time, who knows how they were raised? Nobody knows that. So maybe that was the only way they knew how to communicate. So we have to learn to forgive people from our past that were harsh with us, that were mean to us, that were, very condescending towards us, because unless we know their story, we don't really know where that came from. And a lot of times we internalize those things. And for a long time in my young adult life, even to my mid-adult life, some of the things that were said to me when I was younger, it still resonated with me. It still, had a sting to it. And then God had to remind me that you don't know their story. You don't know where they're coming from with that, because back then we didn't talk to our elders. We didn't tell them, I don't like the way you said that to me. That was not allowed. We couldn't say anything. We just had to take it, back then. But now I understand that the times were different, and just being a person of color at that time was different. So they felt a certain way about themselves back then, so they lashed out at you as well. So I had to learn to forgive that and just understand we don't always know what's behind everything. But honesty is one of those ways to truly connect with people. And I know in relationships that I've been in, and marriages that I've been in, honesty was one of those things I felt like was lacking. Because when you can't, hey Roderick, when you can't talk to your partner about any and everything without them getting mad and angry and storming or trying to put their hands on you, this, that, and the other, you are not in an honest relationship. Because there should be no instance where you can't tell the truth. That's in a romantic relationship, that's in a family relationship, and that's in a friendship. And one thing I tried to tell my children when I was raising them, I said, whatever it is, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Whatever you do, don't lie to me. Don't worry about how I'm going to react to it, but it's going to be more of a problem if I find out you lied to me. Because honesty was so important to me, because that was something I didn't have in my relationships, and that I didn't have that growing up as a child. And I know how dishonesty and deceit and manipulation can affect your life, and it can go on into your life, into adulthood. And then those are things you have to pray off of you. You have to pray, the seeds that were planted in your life when you were young. You have to start praying those things off of you and asking to be delivered from those things. So I had to go through that whole process as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, trying to get rid of all of the dirt, all of the stuff that was planted on me by my home environment when I was a child. And so now I am one of those people that if you don't come to me honest, don't come to me at all. Even if I'm not going to like what you're saying, don't come with an attitude. Now let's get that straight. But you can come and you can talk to me and you can be honest with me, because I respect honesty, because it takes courage to be honest. It's easy to lie, but it really takes courage to be honest with somebody and say, hey, what you're doing is causing everybody a lot of stress, a lot of strife. What you're doing is causing division. What you're doing is making me not want to be around you. What you're doing is, we've got to start speaking honesty and truth. I said, one thing I've learned about it, when you tell people the truth, whether they be mad at you for right now, later on, they're going to come back and they're going to thank you. Because life has a way of bringing things back around. That's why I always tell you guys, we got to be careful what we let come out of our mouth, because that thing is going to come back around. It goes out there and it causes things to happen when you say things out of your mouth. But when you're honest with somebody, that's God's truth. And when you give somebody God's truth, it's not going to come back void. And they may not like you, but they're going to remember the words that you said, and they're going to remember who said it, and that you said it from a right spirit, even though they didn't receive it the right way. So honesty is absolutely important if you're ever going to make a true connection with anybody. Nothing gets built on a lie. A lie doesn't do nothing but build chaos, strife, and division. Honesty is how you build a relationship. Number 2, vulnerability. You have to show your true self. You have to show people you don't have it all together. You have to share some of your feelings and your past experiences with people if you want to have a true connection with them, because nobody likes to feel like they're the weak one in the room. And nobody likes to feel like, I can't trust you. If I say this, you're going to go tell everybody, and everybody's going to be laughing at me. Everybody's going to be looking at me like I'm less than. So vulnerability is absolutely essential in a true connection. You're not going to be able to connect with like that. You have to try people with a little bit of something. If they can't hold that little bit of something, they can't be trusted with that little bit, don't you give them no more. People will show you who they are. Give them a little bit and see what they do with it. And see if they're exposing themselves to you, or if they're sitting there just drinking the tea and hearing everything you got to say. If they're not exposing themselves some too, I'm going to shut my mouth, because you're just trying to get a story out of me. You're not even willing to open yourself up. Number 3, a true connection requires deep understanding. Deep understanding means that you do more listening than you do talking. Deep understanding means you go to prayer about what somebody's telling you. You don't give your opinion about it. You don't ask nobody else about it. If you want to get a deeper understanding about whoever you're trying to connect with, take what they've said to you and go to God with it. God will reveal those things that need to be revealed to you. And He will unction your spirit as to what to do, what to say, and sometimes just what not to say. Sometimes the key is to just be quiet, because sometimes we mess things up when we open our mouths. Number 4, empathy. This is the ability to see things from another person's perspective and understand that while you may not have handled the situation that way, or you might not have allowed yourself to get in that situation, don't look down at somebody else. Understand that, we all have our own journey that we have to walk through, but empathy means, I hear you, and I hate you went through that. It's not, girl, why did you let this happen? No, that's not empathy. Empathy means you listen and you say, I hate you went through that. You're such a beautiful person, but I know everything happens for a reason, and I hope you never have to go through a situation like that again. You may not even understand it because you haven't experienced it, but empathy means understanding it from another person's perspective and not judging them. Number 5, shared experiences. You never know what you have in common with somebody until you talk, until you tell the truth. You'd be amazed at how many men or women have gone through what you've gone through. You'll start talking about it and they'll be like, oh my gosh. And you'll be like, what? You ain't gonna believe this. I just went through that. You ain't gonna believe this. I went through that too. That bonds you, that brings you closer, because it helps you understand, what? There's nothing wrong with me. You know what? I'm not the only one that had to go through this. And it's good to know that you're not being picked on. It's good to know that somebody else has been as vulnerable, or somebody else has kind of fallen for some of the same things, the traps in life that you've fallen into, because that's where you get your strength from. is being open and honest about what you've gone through. And then number 6, open communication. That means when you're having communication with people, stop doing all this yes and no. Elaborate on things so that people can have a full understanding of what you're talking about. Ask questions so you can go deeper in the conversation with people. Because a lot of times people get a misunderstanding just by listening to what people are saying simply because they don't ask deeper questions. Make them go deeper. Try to find out why this happened, what this meant to them, how this affected them. That's when you get close to people and you truly connect with them. Number 7, you must have a genuine interest in understanding. You got to want to understand their point of view. You know, that judgment, you got to leave that at the door, because I did this doesn't mean that you're immune to it, because it could have easily have been me, or it could have easily have been you had the circumstances been on the other foot. So never think that you're better than anybody. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's better to be humble and better to, just remind yourself that we're all human. So just have a genuine interest in understanding that person and wanting to get to know that person. That's how you're going to make a true connection. Number 8, mutual trust. Mutual trust means I sit down and I talk with you and I don't hear about this on the street later. A mutual trust means that we both are being open. We're both in a safe space where we know that whatever we say is not going to be judged. Whatever we say is not going to be ridiculed. Whatever we say is not going to be belittled, like, oh, girl, that ain't nothing. You don't want to hear that when you're pouring your heart out to somebody. So it's got to be a mutual trust there, to the point where I won't hurt you and you won't hurt me. Number 9, active listening. Like I said before, you are doing more listening than you are talking. You're paying attention, not being distracted. You're actually listening to what somebody's saying. You're watching their body language. You're watching if it makes them emotional. You're just there for them, and you're actually trying to truly understand who they are as a person. And number 10, you must have mutual respect. There's got to be respect if you're going to have a connection. Because if one person doesn't respect the other, all of this other stuff goes out of the window. Respect is that foundation that you got to have. You got to respect that person enough to say, you know what? I enjoyed talking to you, what we talked about. I want to talk to you again because that's really helping me. I want to talk to you again because I feel safe sharing those things with you. I want to talk to you again because you were really honest with me and you were really helping me to get past some things that I've been dealing with. Hey, Kinsley, that's that mutual respect. You're not afraid to be vulnerable. You're not afraid to let that other person know, you're blessing me, and I just really thank God, that he brought you into my life. And then 11, you have to be present. You have to really fully focus on that person. And when you have interactions, put all them distractions away. If you're really going to get connected to somebody, you can't be doing 2 and 3 things at the same time going, yeah, what'd you say? This, that, and the other. You're not connecting with them. You need to give people your full attention. Do things where it's just you and them, without all of the distractions, without the phones, without the kids, without the social media, all of that stuff, because you can't connect to anybody when your mind is in 2 or 3 different places. So those are the 11 things a true connection is going to require from you. So ask yourself, so boo, who are you fooling? There are basic things we all want, no matter how hard we try to pretend that we good and try to survive without them. This is whether you're single or whether you're married. These are basic things we all really want. You know, you can put a mask on and act like you don't need these things, but deep down inside, in your heart, because of how God made us, every last one of these things I'm going to talk about, we all really want. Number one, most important, we all want to love and to be loved. Number two, we all want to feel seen and noticed. Number three, we all want to be heard and understood. And number four, last but not least, we all want to feel appreciated. We want to be appreciated by other people. So let's talk about to love and be loved. You know, we try to pretend like we don't need this simply because it's hard to find. It's hard to find people that will truly love you, for you, that don't want something from you, that's not playing games, that's not trying to manipulate you. And we allow ourselves to get overly exposed to the wrong kind of love, to the point where we don't know love if it falls in our lap, because we're so busy out there letting them water down what love truly is. You know, the dating world right now, just in what people believe, is really sad. You know, so many people don't want to commit in a relationship because they don't want to be made a fool of, and they don't want to invest their money in nobody, and this, that, and the other. It's a bunch of excuses out there. It's a bunch of excuses. But at the end of the day, we all want to love and be loved. And everybody thinks they know how to love, but do we? Do we really know how to love? You know, the Bible talks about what love is, and love is an action word. Love is about being selfless. Love is about putting others before yourself. Love is about stomping that pride down and saying you're sorry, even when you don't want to. Love is about doing things for other people, even when you don't really want to. Your flesh is telling you don't do it, but you know it's the right thing to do. So a lot of us really think we know what love is, but do we really? Hey, Jackie, but do we really? And number two, do we love ourselves enough to be able to show real love to somebody else? Because I've had to learn in my own experiences, getting back to loving myself, is I can't love nobody else until I learn how to fall in love with me, until I learn how to get me and God together. You know, because everything else is going to be temporary. Hey, Rita, if you don't learn to love yourself and love God. Those two things are going to go hand in hand, because you almost need God to love you so much that it overwhelms you, to make you love yourself, because we see everything wrong with us. We know everything we've done, all the wrong stuff we've done, all the mistakes that we made, and the enemy has it bad about playing that over in your head, you know, making you feel like you're not worth love, making you feel like you're less than, you know. But we have to learn how to forgive ourselves, and that takes God. That takes God, you guys, because sometimes we can get so mad at what we've allowed ourselves to go through that we have to be reminded by God that He loves us through it all. And so we have to take on that mindset of God and understand that God knew what we were going to be going through. God knew the mistakes that we were going to make. But at the end of the day, He still loves us the same. And once you start feeling that love from God, it'll help you forgive yourself, and it'll help you learn to love you. And I recommend to anybody that's single right now, and you could probably even do this when you're married, you have got to find a way to love yourself. You have got to find a way to love yourself, because you can't adequately love anybody else until you love yourself right. You know, it's easy to say, oh, I love myself, but love is in the action, y'all. How are you treating yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? You know, how are you presenting yourself? You know, how you carry yourself says a whole lot about how you feel about yourself. Do you feel like you're a piece of meat? If you're not, then why are you out here with all your stuff hanging out? trying to get people to put likes on social media, because you don't love yourself enough to know that it don't take all of that, that you don't need to do that. You're a force all by yourself with all your clothes on. You don't have to do that to try to validate yourself and make yourself feel special. So you have to ask yourself, do I love myself enough to even try to love somebody else? And that's something you have to deal with that's so personal. And a lot of times we're looking for love out here and we're wondering why it doesn't work out, because that other person can tell that you don't love yourself. Nobody wants a person that don't love themselves, because it's going to show up in the relationship. It's going to show up in your actions. It's going to show up in so many different ways, and that's going to turn them off, and eventually they're going to get tired of it. They're going to get tired of it. And number 3, like I said before, love is about being selfless. And the best thing you can do is show God that you appreciate him. Show God that you appreciate how he made you, how special you are. You don't have to be the prettiest person in the world. You don't have to have the best body in the world. God didn't make us all to look like that, y'all. We got to stop trying to compare ourselves and make ourselves look like other people. We have got to learn that it's not about the outside. It's fine to be working on your outside, but if your inside is not right, it's not going to matter. I know some women that's got bodies like goddesses, but their inside is not right because they don't even love themselves. They're just doing that on the outside because they need that attention. They need that attention from other people. When you truly love yourself, you can be by yourself. You don't care if anybody likes your picture. You don't care if anybody tries to talk to you when you're out. You have a confidence because you know that you're a queen. You already know that you're the prize. So if they ain't saying nothing to you, then that means they not the right one for you. And you going to keep it moving because you love yourself too much to get caught up and be watered down by somebody else. You work too hard to get to where you are to let somebody water down all your hard work. You know, that's why you have to be careful who you connect to out here. Some people see your confidence and they want to tear that down. And so it's not always people connecting with you for the right reason. Some people want to take you down a peg and try to put you in your place. So be careful about that, who you're connecting to. And a lot of times people say they like that about you until they get in a relationship with you. I'm a living witness on that one. Anyway, number 4, deep inside, we all want to be nurtured. We all want that contact comfort. That's that hug. That's being held. That's been, somebody rubbing our back, when we're crying or having a bad day or just exhausted. We want that comfort that comes from human contact, y'all. And the desire to be held and touched. We all want that. We can act like we don't need that, but I promise you, deep down inside, everybody wants somebody that's going to reach out and hold their hands. So everybody wants somebody that when they see you crying, they want their arms around them to hug them. That's why people cry so hard. And I had to learn that. I always wondered why people cried harder when somebody hugged them. If y'all ever notice that, somebody that's upset about something, when somebody takes the time out to hug them, they just seem to go hard with that crying. It's because that's what they've been missing all along. And it's like when you get it, it overwhelms you. It's happened to me many times. It overwhelms you and the tears just start flowing because that's what you need. That's that God that you need. When people put their arms around you like that, it's almost like God is holding you saying it's going to be okay. And who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that, y'all? Because we all go through some things. Sometimes that's just overwhelming. And you just need somebody to hug you and hold your hand sometimes. And then number 5, we need love in order to feel emotionally and mentally secure. We need it. We can pretend, we can wear that mask like we good, without it. We good being single. There's nothing wrong with being single. because I was in a marriage where I wasn't getting any of that. And I was wishing I was by myself. There's nothing like being connected with somebody in such a way, especially with a commitment like that, and that person withholding affection from you, that person taking the very thing away from you that they promised to give you. So it doesn't matter if you're married or single. We all need that. We all need that, and we need to stop pretending that we don't. And number 2, we need to all feel seen and noticed. Nobody likes to be felt left out. Nobody likes to feel like they're invisible, because that's a horrible feeling, to know that you're in a room and nobody's paying attention to you. This is why little children throw temper tantrums and why they cry sometimes, because they're going to get their attention. They want to be seen. They want to be noticed. So that's an instinct that we have even as a child, even as an infant. We know if we make noise, somebody's coming. So we have that desire within us to be seen and to be noticed. And number 1, it signifies that their identity and emotions and experiences are acknowledged and valued. You want to be valued by other people. Number 2, it creates a sense of belonging, connection, and self-worth when people let you know that they see you, they notice you. You want to belong. Number 3, to be recognized and understood. It stems from our evolutionary need to be part of a tribe. Back in our ancestors' time, they were part of tribes. It was important that you be part of a tribe. You didn't want to be an outsider. That was the worst thing that could happen to you. You would starve, you would die, you would be hunted if you were outside of a tribe. So that need comes from our ancestors. That's something that's been within us since the beginning of time. We want to belong somewhere. We want to be a part of something. And then being seen goes beyond just the physical being seen. It involves actually actively listening and understanding somebody's perspective and acknowledging their emotions. There's nothing like talking to somebody and they're literally paying attention to you, and they're steady giving you feedback on what you're saying. There is nothing more precious than having good communication. Good communication makes you feel so good when you walk away from the table, because you feel heard, you feel understood, and that's the next thing we're going to. But you feel seen, and you feel like you make a difference and that you matter. And that's important. And just understand, you can be in a relationship, you can be in a marriage, you can be in a family and feel unseen. And that's a horrible position to be in, because you feel like you don't have a significant part, like you don't belong there. And so let's talk about our need to be heard and our need to be understood. The recognition of being listened to is the response from another person that tells us that our feelings, our actions, our intentions, they're meaningful. They mean something. If people are listening to you and trying to understand you, that means you matter. That means that you bring something to the table. And we all want people to recognize, I don't come empty. When I come into the room, when I come into a relationship, when I come into a friendship, I bring something in the room. I don't come empty. If I'm coming empty, you need to leave me where you found me. Everybody should be bringing something. But you have to be heard and understood for people to recognize your true value, the worth that you bring into that relationship. And then number 2, feeling heard can reduce your stress and anxiety level. It can boost your self-esteem. And it can also make you feel more secure in your relationships when you know that person is actually listening and trying to understand you. There's one thing I hate, is to be misunderstood. Because if you don't understand something when it comes to me, ask me, come back to me, say something. I hate it when people react to me over a misunderstanding. That gets under my skin. That makes me so mad, because all you had to do is come back and ask me. All you had to do was get a right understanding, and then all this other stuff wouldn't have had to happen. So that's one of those pet peeves with me. If you show me you got a bad understanding as a friend, hey Pam, we're not going to talk very much. We're not going to spend much time together. I don't have time for the drama. So when I know you dramatic like that, you quick to get an attitude, or you quick to get things wrong, you won't see a whole lot of me, and you won't hear a whole lot from me either, because you got to get those kind of toxic people out of your life. So if they're not willing to hear you and actually try to understand you, even if you're having, a conversation that's uncomfortable, if they want to interrupt you and storm out this, that, and the other, just end the conversation, because they're not mature enough to listen to you. It's not going anywhere. And sometimes you just have to let people walk away and be okay with that. And I know I'm at the point in my life that if drama's walking out the door, I'm going to run and hold the door open. I'm going to go crank the car. I'm going to turn on the GPS, and I'm going to help them get away from me as quick as possible. So let's talk about also how being heard and understood makes you feel a sense of intimacy. There's nothing like having a partner that knows you. And the only way a person can get to know you is they have to study you. And they have to try to understand why you feel the way you feel, why you say what you say, what makes her respond to this, what traumatized her, why is she triggered by this. That's a person that's really trying to love you and trying to hear you and try to understand you. And we all deserve somebody like that, that's not going to run away as soon as we don't act the way they want us to act. A person that takes the time to truly learn you, they try to understand why you do what you do. And that way they don't overreact or underreact to any situation concerning you. And that's a person that's really trying to love you and trying to be the kind of partner we all deserve, you guys. So don't settle for less than that, because it's not worth it. You might as well be by yourself, because there's nothing like you having an issue and you having to hold that down and hold your feelings down and walk on eggshells because you know that person can't handle your emotion. So let's talk about now the want and the desire to be accepted. This world that we live in, it's so wishy-washy. People will love you today and hate you tomorrow. And so you have to be careful about wanting to be accepted by everybody, so be careful about that. Because a lot of times people will put you up on a pedestal, and then as soon as you make a mistake, then all of a sudden, they make you feel like you're less than, or they withdraw their friendship from you, or they make you feel like, something's wrong with you. So be careful about wanting everybody to accept you. But in general, we all want to be accepted. And number one, being accepted can have a profound impact on our emotional well-being and our mental health. And like I say, a lot of times people get bullied on social media when they're wanting everybody to like them and everybody to accept them, because there's always going to be somebody in this world that doesn't like you. Even if you didn't do anything wrong to them, they don't like the way you look. They don't like the way you talk. They don't like, that you think that you're all this and all that. That's their mind. So understand that everybody's not going to like you, but don't make yourself vulnerable for those type of people to attack you and to bully you. Don't want the acceptance so much that you tolerate those type of things. Number two, when we feel accepted, we feel valued. we feel supported, and we feel validated. Everybody wants to feel like they mean something. They want to feel like, that if they try to do something, that people will support them, just because of who they are. Number 3, feeling accepted for who we are can lead to a healthier relationship and a more meaningful connection. When you can be yourself around people and people just accept you and love you for who you are, and you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to say all the right things. You can stumble over your words. You can get stuff wrong sometimes, but people accept you just because they're glad that you're yourself. That's a meaningful connection. And number 4, feeling accepted can lead to a greater sense of purpose and belonging. And then when you make someone a priority, that's so important that we show people that they matter. We need to appreciate the good people that are in our lives. We need to appreciate, those people that are always there for us. We need to appreciate those people that never turn their backs on us. And so we need to make those people a priority. We need to let them know from time to time that they matter, and show them that they matter to you, because they deserve that. They've earned that. And because they've accepted you and loved you for who you are, that's very rare. And that's something that we shouldn't take for granted, you guys. And then after all, who doesn't want to hear words like I love you, or I'm proud of you, or I see you? It is so important, you guys, that we stop taking people for granted, that we understand that everybody needs to feel loved and appreciated. And that's what I want you to get from this. All those people in your life that you haven't cheered for in a long time, that are out there trying to do things and make changes in their lives, and nobody's patting them on the back. We need to start speaking up. We need to start giving people the love and the knowledge that they're seen and that they're heard. That's the kind of friend we need to be. That's the kind of partner we need to be. That's the kind of family member we need to be. Don't sit back and watch them and not encourage them. That's just wrong, because anytime you're trying to do better in your life, the enemy doesn't like that. So you don't know what that person has gone through on their journey trying to get better, to do better. And it's amazing what one text from you will do, saying, you know what, I just was thinking about you today. I just want to tell you I love you. I was thinking about you today, and you've just come such a long way. I'm proud of you. I was thinking about, all the stuff that you're doing, and how you're taking care of your kids, and how you're working on your career, and you're back in school. I see you. Those are simple things for us to do, but we don't do them. And so I'm encouraging you today, help people take off their masks, because people that don't get encouraged, people that feel unseen, people that feel unloved, they have to wear their mask all the time, because they can't let y'all know that that's bothering them. They can't let y'all know that they're hurt, that nobody's there for them. So help them take their mask off. Be there for them. Say those encouraging words to them. If God puts somebody on your heart, send them a text. We all got our phones in our hands all the time. Shoot them a message on Facebook. Do something to encourage them, because it's hard. Self-improvement is hard, you guys, but it's so worth it. But it's so much easier when you know somebody sees you, somebody's back there cheering for you, somebody believes in you and knows that you can do it and wants you to keep going. So you guys, my final thought is, boo, we all wear masks to protect ourselves in some kind of way. We all have basic needs, and it's not always easy to be vulnerable to other people. But it's time to take off the mask, to be honest, to be open with ourselves and be open with other people. Tell people what you need And if they're not the ones that can provide it, go to somebody else. Let them know what you need. Because people can't read our minds because we've got this mask on. And I know I'm bad about it. Of looking like I'm strong, looking like I got it. I don't need no help. But I'm having to pull that mask off, and I'm having to ask people for help simply because I don't want to carry that persona that I don't need things. I need things like everybody else. Those 4 basic things, I need that for myself. But sometimes we carry ourselves in such a way to where people think, okay, well, they don't want this, they good, but really we're not, because we weren't meant to do life by ourselves, you guys. So don't go through your whole life being covered up and hidden behind a mask. Get those needs met, whether you're single or married. We all need to be loved. And we all need to feel noticed. We all need to be understood. And we all need to be appreciated. So don't allow yourself to hide behind a mask. Open up, drop the mask, and live your life. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to say a quick prayer for us. Father God, we come before you, first of all, to say thank you. And we just want to glorify your name, God, because you're good to us, God. We've all gone through some things some stuff we don't even want to talk about, but God, you're still good. You've helped us through. And God, help us to let go of those walls we build up. Help us to take that mask down. I know it won't happen overnight, but help us remove it little by little and let people see who we really are. And let us not be afraid of being hurt and being vulnerable, because that's truly what life is all about. People are going to be people and nobody's perfect. So we have to understand that, and we have to understand that, life is for the living. And we want to do our best to live our best life. And that means we have to stop stressing out, stop pretending to be something that we're not. So God, help us to be our true, authentic self. And God, help us to be okay with people walking away and with the people that you're going to send into our lives to treat us the proper way, Father God. God, we thank you, we love you, and we ask that you just continue to bless and keep everyone with Sister I Got You, Father God, and we will be careful to give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys for watching, and if you're out there with your little trick-or-treaters, please be careful, you guys, and I will see y'all next week. Love y'all. Mwah. Bye.